Hi, Rita.
Hi, Pam. Good afternoon. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our Midday Musing. This is our episode number 4, I believe. How are you doing, Pam?
I am doing great. Actually, I'm actually overwhelmed. I have a lot to do this week.
Okay,
Be
well, that
honest,
makes the two of us.
you know. But I'm glad that we are staying consistent because I think today we should talk about habits. What?
Very good. Wow, habits. That's interesting. Leadership and habits. Yes, there's so many habits we can learn. What do you think is a definition of a habit?
Hmm. Well, habit is something that you do regularly, and just like you and I have a Monday habit of regularly meeting. But I think it's even deeper than that. It's something that comes automatically because your brain is programmed to, okay, you got to do this. Maybe getting up at a certain time, or some of us might have bad habits or good habits, but I think having good habits takes intentionality. And sometimes I also feel like God might just put circumstances in our lives to develop habits. So maybe we can talk about 3 habits today. What do you think?
That sounds good. Okay,
Okay.
so
So why don't you go first and tell me one habit that you have as part of your life?
Okay, well, I will probably share about a habit that I recently learned. When I say recently, I mean like a few years ago. Being a leader for many, many years, I had this idea of you're always working. You work hard and you're learning, and your life is full of action. And so being alone or spending time by myself wasn't part of my life. I mean, I would have my regular, quiet times and prayer times and whatever. But the habit that I learned in the last few years is a habit of solitude.
Mm,
Solitude was a strange thing for me. I was never used to it. I'm always with people. And so for the first time when I moved to Toronto, I was just doing nothing. I was like, no work and no nothing in life. And so for the first time, I was just by myself.
mm,
And in the beginning, it felt strange,
right.
but later on, I began to actually like it.
Wow.
And then it became part of my life. And so now I really believe if we want to be effective leaders,
Hmm.
we have to learn to spend time alone. Be by ourselves, connecting with yourself, connecting with God, connecting with whatever else, but spending that time in solitude. That's a new habit that I have learned, I must say.
Wow. Wow. That's a real deep habit. It sounds like God forced you into that by bringing you to um, Canada. And so, you said that you enjoy it. Can you tell us one thing that helps? Like, I think about the struggle of a lot of people don't feel like being alone, and we busy ourselves with, social media now or, um, I don't know, so many things, Netflix. But what do you mean by being solitude? Does that mean you are alone just sitting there or?
Well, solitude could mean so many things. Solitude could mean you are quietening yourself from all the noises around you, all the needs and wants. Everybody wants something from you. Even when you're watching Netflix, you're still engaged in watching Netflix. That's not really a solitude. What I mean solitude is when you are by yourself, you are listening to your own voice, you're listening to God's whisperings, you're maybe studying something, trying to understand or gaining clarity, is this, and contemplating and becoming aware and
Yeah,
reading and maybe praying or listening to music, maybe, or just silence.
yeah,
I
yeah,
mean, that I found was the most challenging,
yeah.
but things become more clear when you learn to spend time in solitude. And I remember Jesus in the Bible spent, I think, time by himself. He went away by himself. I
Yes,
don't know what he was doing. I think he was praying and
right,
talking to his father.
right.
But he was in solitude. So I think, that's something that I try to do and be comfortable with it.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. It sounds a lot like a Sabbath practice. And,
Yes.
that's something that I've been trying to do on a weekly basis. So thank you for sharing that. That's awesome.
Right. What about you, Pam?
Well, I think, one of the habits that is very related to what you're sharing too, but it's just me learning to practice the presence of God. So, what do I mean by that? We have our normal quiet times, and that's been a habit over the years. I remember you and I being trained in the ministry, and that was like Ministry 101. You need to make sure you spend time with God every day. But what I mean by being in His presence is tapping into the Trinity. I think about God, Jesus, and the Holy Spirit. So, even the night before, I have this journal that is on my table. So when I get up in the morning, that's the first thing I do. Just journal all my thoughts and my feelings because the night before I ask God, there's so many questions I ask him about and for some reason my subconscious will start working on it and I have a lot of thoughts and opinions. So I start journaling and it all comes out. But then I ask God, the Holy Spirit and Jesus to kind of be with me consciously. It's almost like a mindfulness thing rather than just automatically sitting and praying
Hmm.
from our intellect, really learning to speak to God and bring him into um, my page. Say, okay,
Like
God,
I have him there with you, like you're talking to him.
yeah, like even just thinking, okay, when I think about God, who are you, God? You're my provider. So I might thank him for the way he's provided. Like this morning, I focused on God's my healer. One of my best friends is dying of cancer and it's any minute. So really asking God, to put the balm on him, to really comfort him. And then when I think about Jesus, I think about who he is. How did he scorn shame? How did he scorn negative emotions? How did he overcome? And I tell him all the feelings that I have. And then there are so many, questions, problems. So then I ask the Holy Spirit. He is our helper. So I think practicing the presence of God has been a habit that I enjoy. I wake up in the morning and I look forward to just being in that presence. So that's
Sounds awesome. Sounds so comforting even hearing it. I think about it and I thought, we have this amazing resource right in our hands, right? Like
exactly
we have like the king of the universe
right.
ready to listen to us if we need to,
Yeah,
but we don't realize that. And I
yeah,
think, like you said, practicing the presence of God throughout the day,
right.
I believe will really strengthen us as leaders. So
Absolutely.
that,
It's like we have a direct line to the creator of the universe who tells us, do not worry, do not fear. He's got all the answers.
wow.
So and it's amazing, he just kind of tells you what to do and I might be all boggled and worried when I sit down, but then after at the end of it he's given direction and peace. I'm not going to get out of that page today. It took me honestly 2 hours, that's why I'm kind of delayed, but till I get the peace. So that's a habit that I'm enjoying. What's another habit for you?
Well, I think, the first two is kind of tied with each other, the solitude, and then what do you do in the solitude is what you shared. I think for me, the third thing that I've been working on and I'm learning is practicing vulnerability.
Mm,
When you're a leader, and I don't know, back in the days when we learned to be leaders, we thought if you're a leader, you have to be good at everything. You have to be strong, you have to bear everything. You're in the front line. You're taking all the bullets. It's
yeah,
like you're putting up this front of how strong you are.
yeah,
And then I realized that that's kind of tiring. And
mm,
not everybody can relate to you if
right,
you're like
right,
and recently, I've been learning about, just be real, be who you are. And I think me going through my own personal journey with my sickness and all the other struggles,
yeah.
I have learned the power of just being vulnerable as a
Mhm.
leader
That's powerful.
and practicing that vulnerable, not just like once in a while, but trying to be, admitting when you're wrong.
Right.
And if you're not good at something, just saying that I'm not good at it. Or, if you're overwhelmed, like I love the way you shared, I was overwhelmed today. But
Yes,
maybe in my previous style, I would never say that
right,
because it would make me look weak.
right.
And I don't want to look weak.
Yeah,
But I think an effective leadership is when a leader is vulnerable, it makes them attractive
right.
because it shows them it's not about them,
Yeah,
right? Because leadership is not about you,
yeah.
it's about who empowers you. And for us as Christian leaders, it's God and the Holy Spirit that empowers us.
That's
So
right.
I think that's something that I've been learning and I'm still working at it, just being real, being who you are and not worrying about what people think about you.
Yeah, and I appreciate you pulling me into that. Even this whole, I don't know what you call it, the musings that you want to make it public. That's very vulnerable for me. And so I appreciate our friendship that you call us higher, and now it's become a habit. And it's funny. I really appreciate that we could focus on these three habits.
Yeah.
So, what do you think are our takeaways today?
So our takeaways, in order for us, I know John Maxwell says in his training, leaders are supposed to listen,
Hmm.
learn, and then they lead. And I
Okay.
think for us to become effective, first we listen, and that is solitude,
Yes.
being the presence of God. We're listening,
Yes.
right? We're listening to God and we're learning quietly,
Yes.
because sometimes God comes to you in those gentle
Yes.
whispers in
Yep.
the most unexpected places. And thirdly, just being vulnerable, leading with vulnerability. And so those three habits, maybe not very common, maybe some of us already do it, maybe some of us are very good at it, maybe some of us are not good at it, but it's something that I think will help us being an effective leader.
Yes, yes. I love that. I think the spirit is moving because, like before, my husband and I recycle every day. And I used to sometimes take like a podcast or something to listen to. Now I'm deliberately not taking anything, even when I go for a walk, because I just want to like be who I am and communicate with God and just give space to think. So solitude is such an amazing um, like nourishing habit. So thank you for
Yes.
sharing that. And thank you for calling me to be vulnerable. So until next
Well,
time, have
until
a
next time.
good
That's right. And I want to thank all the viewers for your encouragement and likes and inputs. We're so grateful. We're so pumped up, and we'll keep it going. We're not the experts, but we are the students of leadership. And we're so glad to share this with you. So thank you for your encouragement. Pam and I were super grateful and super pumped up about this. So
night. Well,
bye, everyone.
thanks, Rita. Bye, everybody.